and we continue and have a totally different conversation now. The issue of unemployed graduates. We talk about it, we hear about it, it remains high on the news agenda, and a lot of graduates still find themselves unemployed. And the question still remains, though, as to why this is still happening. What about the degrees themselves? Are they worth anything? What is the worth of the degrees? And we are joined on the line by Thamsanqa Maqubela, who is the Chief Executive of the South African Graduates Development Association, as well as Professor Dina Burger, Acting Pro-Vice Chancellor at Monash University, to unpack this issue and talk about it. And of course, we are taking your calls as well on 0891 104 207, SMSs 34701. And you can email morning@safm.co.za and be part of our conversations. Good morning to both of you, and welcome, Thamsanqa Maqubela and Professor Dina Burger. Good morning and welcome to you.
Good morning, Rowena, and welcome to SAFM.
Thank you very much.
Good morning to Dina and the SAFM listeners.
Thanks, Thamsanqa. Yes, Dina.
Good morning to all and to all the listeners of SAFM.
Perhaps to start off with you, Thamsanqa, one of your main objectives is to, at the South African Graduates Development Association, is to prepare students for the world of work, and you actually empower graduates to actively participate in the mainstream economy, not only in South Africa, but also in other parts of the world. How exactly do you do that?
Thank you, Rowena. Thank you for inviting Sagda to your show. For the past 16 years, the South African Graduates Development Association has been involved as a membership organization to send a message to higher education institutions, universities, colleges, public and private, that there is more to education than just the certificate that's printed. But our Sagda has been doing that. We've got a number of programs. Actually, we do 5 things. We conduct research on issues of graduate and employability. As we speak with you, we are releasing our national internship research, which we've been conducting since January this year, funded jointly by the ETTPC and MERSITA. That research will really stock off the effectiveness of internships for students once they've left university or college. Secondly, we run a graduate empowerment seminars and work readiness programs. The graduate empowerment seminars are graduates who have already left university or college, who are unemployed or who are unsure as to how to proceed with their careers. Work readiness programs are offered on campuses to students so that then they begin to understand what we call employment attraction skills. These are skills that are often called soft skills. Interview handling, drafting a resume, job search. All of those things are very important for students to understand the world of work. So those 3 things, among others, are part of what Sagda does to ensure that students are ready for the world of work and actually know what it means. What is key for us also, Rowena, is to create this agency that when you reach university or college within your first year, that's when you need to look for your prospective employer. Do not leave it till it's too late.
Just moving to you, Dina, and talking a little bit about Monash University. It's been in the country since 2001, and it's the first foreign university to open a campus in South Africa. How does your course content and I guess accreditation, qualification, and so on, how do those rate and compare with South African institutions?
Good morning once again, and thank you very much for the opportunity to speak on your prestigious program, Rowena.
Yes.
I think that Monash University, being situated in Australia and having this campus at Reinsig in Johannesburg, serving as the African footprint of the university, you would be surprised to see the similarities in the societal challenges between Australia and South Africa. For instance, the whole issue of scarcity of water, for instance, is a common challenge between countries. So what we have done is, in terms of introducing degrees at our campus, it is not merely just importing qualifications from Australia, but rather to decide on qualifications where there is a similarity in terms of the South African context, in terms of society. So we believe that our degrees offer solutions to societal problems, and it also has the benefit that it is international degrees. Therefore, it also assists students to be able to play a leading role wherever they are. If you look at our student profile, 49% from South Africa at the moment, 51% from the rest of Africa and other parts of the world, and you have the opportunity to engage with alumni, which we regularly do, you would find that our students are really making a difference in their workplace, where they take up employment after their studies.
Diana, similarities between South Africa and Australia notwithstanding, do you find that you've needed to tweak the course content for the South African market?
Very much so. It's actually a standard requirement that we have negotiated with Australia, and Australia has been very supportive in that. So there is an insistence between both entities to ensure that we can make our curriculum contextually relevant. We also then bring contextual relevance to the teachers that we use. In other words, our academics are academics coming from South Africa and Africa, and we also have a pool of carefully selected sessional staff that represents the best brains in industry to also then add value to the contextual relevance of our degrees and our subjects.
Thamsanqa, about the research that Sagda, the South African Graduates Development Association, has undertaken on the effectiveness of universities or colleges in preparing students for work, for the work market. Tell us more about that research. What came of it?
Rowena, the research is on the effectiveness of internships when students have left university, and what we have with regard to effectiveness of university or college degrees, which also is a question I'd like our colleagues to respond to from Monash. Several factors. One, we've looked at the destination of graduates after leaving university. There are 10 destinations that are available that we've picked up on the graduates that are registered on our database. The first one is that only 7.8% of these graduates are absorbed by the private sector, formal sector. That is so minuscule to an extent that it really shows that there are real challenges in the economy that we need to deal with. Then that is followed by internships. Internships are sitting at 27%. That's quite high. One would then look to say it's somewhat positive. However, the fact that these are short-term programs, internships last between 6 to 24 months, and many of them are around 12 months. What happens to these graduates after they have left the internship program? To what extent are they absorbed by the organization, or do they, secure employment while on internships? What we've also discovered is that many of these students, they start their own businesses. That is sitting at around 15%. So 15% of these, they start and try to run their own businesses. But to what degree of success? Because just at the starting level, is it because they cannot find jobs that they resort to entrepreneurial activities? Or is it because they really cut out with the entrepreneurial character, they're able to start and run their own businesses successfully? Another disturbing revelation is that about 6% of these, they have finished their degrees or studies. However, they go back and study something else that is completely not related to the initial degree or diploma. So we found that those are quite sending signals that there are really certain things that are wrong. So we would want to know, across the board, from our 23 universities, 50 FET colleges, and over 200 private institutions of higher learning, what is the revelation in terms of the destinations of their students after they've left university.
We'll take calls, 0891 104 207. Alex, we see you in Johannesburg. We'll come to you just now. But Thamsanqa, you mentioned that 7.8% of graduates who have a degree are absorbed in the formal employment sector. Do you think that this is because there are more students who graduate with the same kind of degree, so there are too many of the same?
Certainly not. Certainly not. I do not think that is the case. What we think that is, there is high level of selectiveness or selectivity or preference from the employers to say we would take only graduates from institution 1 and 2. We would not even look at these other universities. So it's not just an issue of a qualification or the discipline, Rowena. It is an issue to say you're coming from a wrong institution. We would not take you. You come from institution X. We're only looking at institution A and B.
So the value and the worth is not just determined by, it's also determined rather by the university that you go to. Let's go to Alex. Hello, Alex. Thank you for holding.
Hi, Rowena. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Alex. Alex.
Good morning to Tommy. We've engaged before.
Hi,
Tommy,
Alex.
I want to congratulate you on the excellent work you guys are doing at the Development Agency. I've had the fortune of contributing in a small way there. But that said, I think there could be a multiplicity of issues that are affecting unemployed graduates and graduates, and it's not just a single one. But there is another underwriting factor which I don't hear that often spoken of, and that is that the number of employment opportunities by virtue of technological advances are diminishing substantially in a proportional ratio, and that is a factor. But obviously there are these other excruciating factors that Tommy has mentioned, relating to selectivity and that kind of thing. But and I think that one has to look beyond that because and possibly engage government, because there seems to be, to my mind, a shift that has taken place. Perhaps the Monash representative can comment on this, where the market for employment opportunity has been left, or the economy has been left to the private sector, and by definition, the private sector will narrow. So government has to undertake a much greater role in the economy in order to initially capitalize it, to grow, and to create those additional employment opportunities. And I think that that's a trap South Africa has fallen into, much as a product of globalization. And trends internationally, so it's not necessarily only a South African situation, because you have this problem all over the world. In fact, you have people setting themselves on fire because of that, and graduates setting themselves on fire because of that. So I think that perhaps, and maybe that's where Tommy can make a contribution, is to engage government on economic growth, if we can call it that. Much like has happened elsewhere in the world historically, that have brought us to the position we were in. Otherwise, we would have been, as we left to the private sector, we'd be much more in trouble, much earlier in trouble than we are now.
Thanks for coming through, Alex. Do you think we should be engaging government, like Alex says, but also I think engaging the private sector as well in terms of absorbing all these graduates? Because what happens to them? You mentioned earlier that it's the institution that determines the actual value of a degree, Tammy. But I can't help but wonder if the goalposts have shifted. Perhaps you could answer this, Diana, where, for instance, in the past, a particular job would require for the incumbent to have a bachelor degree. Now that same job would require something more, perhaps a master's degree. Could you comment on that?
Certainly, I do think that the expectation in terms of what type of degree or what level of degree has changed. But I want to just mention a few things, if I may. I really believe that what is necessary for us is to understand that government has a role in terms of enabling employment, enabling job opportunities. But government itself is not responsible for the creation of job opportunities. Secondly, I want to then say that I think the shift really has to do with what role does entrepreneurship and small, medium-sized businesses play in the best economies in the world. I think it is a significant role in terms of the research that I have seen. In other words, I think we also need to look at the curriculum that is on offer, and we need to then bring in issues such as entrepreneurship in as a standard feature in some of the degrees, if not all, and it is something that we are currently considering here as well as we are into our curriculum renewal phases, to bring in entrepreneurship, so that we educate students not to just look out to find a job, but to look out to provide jobs.
I think so. I think we ought to be encouraging entrepreneurship and creativity and innovation as well, as opposed to placing just such a high emphasis on tertiary education. More can be done in that regard. We've got so many students who walk away from universities with degrees, but not just that, they also walk away with a substantial debt incurred from whatever student loans. And if that person cannot get a job, and if that degree does not work for you, then how are you expected to pay back the loan? Perhaps you can answer that, Thamsanqa.
Rowena, I need to actually, your question on this show was to say what is the worth of a degree. I need to underscore that. The value of post-school qualification, national diploma, degree, master's, or whatever, it is so significant, it is so important. We cannot underscore it, However, there is this reality that no matter who you are, job security is no longer guaranteed. It doesn't matter the level of your qualification. But what we do know is that education opens doors and it plays a critical role. It is the context and the nature that which our curriculum focuses on, that which we need to tweak. However, having a loan, knowing very well that you're the first person to graduate from a university or college from your family, places an enormous amount of responsibility and pressure. We see them as Sagda. And what Alec has said to say what it is that we're doing, Alec has been in our offices, he's worked with us in our graduate empowerment seminars. We are engaging with government, we are engaging with the private sector. In June, we placed 64 graduates at KPMG together with the Department of Public Works. In July this year, we placed 84 graduates with the Department of Social Development. And now we're looking at 50 with Microsoft, MICT, CETA. The Transport CETA has given us about 58 million rand to place 1,000 graduates within a year in the transport-related opportunities. But we're saying it is still not enough because these are just, internship opportunities. Where are the gainful employment? People need to know, you need to prepare for that early in advance. You cannot start looking for a job at the final year of your study.
Well, you're saying Thamsanqa, that one is still better off with a degree or whatever qualification. But I know that in the past, having a degree was some sort of guarantee of safety and some level of stability. But that obviously is shifting given the high unemployment rate of graduates.
It is shifting, certainly. We need to look at a number of issues. There's migration of industries, that's one. Secondly, there is a high level of outsourcing within specific industries. And growing outsourcing or business process outsourcing then shifts certain duties which would have easily been given to new graduates. But when that has shifted, companies opt to go for people with high-level expertise. And that is where now positioning yourself, when you've got a degree, is important. The attitude plays a key role. Oftentimes, graduates given an opportunity, go and start somewhere. But the attitude becomes a defeating aspect to say, you've been given an opportunity, you didn't perform. So the ratings are very high, companies demand more, but I think universities, there are institutions where companies will say, I want a graduate from these institutions, I know we're going to bring them up. Within 3 or 6 months, those graduates have been promoted.
Okay, I need to improve my turnaround time of taking calls. Hello, KG in Bloemfontein. Thank you for holding.
Yes, good morning. Thank you very much for taking my call. I think what we need to start trying to do, is to change our whole mindset and this thing of wanting to be employed either as whatever. We should try to actually move to becoming business owners. and not only business owners, also to change our mindset to say that if you run a business, you don't run it in this survivalist mode or this survivalist attitude that we most of us we currently do now. To actually try to run a business as an institution, as a standalone institution, apart from the individual who's running it. That is the only way that all of us will get out of unemployment and poverty, I think. Thank you.
Taking your SMSs, our degrees don't mean a lot to us as we are unable to achieve economic freedom. Politicians advised us to make babies to achieve the freedom. That's Betty Ngobeni. Another SMS from Peter Mukwena reads, the question remains, do we need degrees or land to plant cabbages? Danke writes, a degree is just an accolade, but what's important is what you can deliver with that accolade. My people have all these accolades, but cannot even distinguish between zero and between zero. Come to the courts and listen to attorneys speak. You will have a panic attack. And that really brings me to my question to you, Diana, that, we're talking about the value and the worth of a university degree, and the main variable we've used to determine that worth is if one gets a job or not. But surely it should go beyond that, and we should look at other factors. Factors, for instance, like whether students are better at critical thinking after a course, better at complex reasoning after attaining whatever university degree than they were before. Can you talk to that?
Yes, certainly. I think that the issue that you are focusing on today is, of course, very important. But it depends on how you look at the issue. I would like to look at the issue in terms of whether our degrees should not rather be more industry-relevant degrees, industry-focused degrees. And then, of course, the particular techniques and abilities that you've just mentioned should also form part of these degrees. Systems thinking, the ability just to think. How do you relate to critical social concepts within the context of South Africa, Africa, and globally? I think, secondly, there needs to be a very tight industry partnership between the university and the industries. And therefore, the industries also themselves have a particular role to play in terms of their staff training and development focus, to take hand with the university so that the university plays its role, and by the time that the graduate is delivered to the industry, that the industry then has specific type courses designed and developed that they can implement to make sure that those mathematics can work, like the example you've used from the SMS. I also believe that we should also change the way in which industries deal with graduate students, in that they should have themselves a critical component of mentoring and coaching within the workplace itself, to take hands with these people and help them through a process where they can practically apply their knowledge better, and where they can also then further develop these skills that you've mentioned. How to solve problems, how to deal with complex issues, etc. Once again, to get back to your examples. So I really think that we should see the place of degrees in relation to the place of industries, in relation to the way in which the curriculum then responds to the needs of the institution itself that teaches these degrees, and their focus areas and mandate in relation to the focus and mandate of the industry. And once you start to develop those partnerships, we are all busy then working together. And I'm just singling out those two entities. There are others as well.
Okay, we have to leave it there. Thank you very much to Professor Diana Burger, the Acting Pro-Vice-Chancellor at Monash University, and Thamsanqa Maqubela, Chief Executive of the South African Graduates Development Association, talking about the issue of unemployed graduates. It is a minute after 10.